actually manipulate the growth curve that we looked at yesterday, except I've come to the wrong place now. So apologize. This is where we want to be. Okay, so again, I like these useless pieces of information. So we have way more microbes living in us than we do cells. So be nice to your microbes is the moral of the story. Okay. So for me, it's the bottom of page 243. I presume it's close to there. So in terms of our food processing, it's using bacteria to produce this wide range of products. So you just need a couple of examples, but it goes from food to flavorings to vitamins, even alcohol production. We'll use the stages in there. And there's now big business in using microorganisms as a source of protein. So corn, there's loads of now different proteins, not vegan friendly because you're eating another organism. No, actually they are. No, they can't be vegan friendly. But it is big business now. Okay, so we have two methods that we're going to talk about that are going to be used commercially. Yes, we'll come back to these guys. So there's two main methods. So one is what's called a batch culture food processing, and the other is what's called continuous flow. So kind of batch culture does what it says on the tin, in that you make your product in batches, and the continuous flow, you will make it all of the time. So for the continuous flow, you have to be hitting a specific point in your growth curve, and you want to maintain your bacterial numbers at that point. And in batch culture, you're going to go through all of the stages. Okay, so in batch culture, what they will do is they'll put a fixed amount of their nutrient, and obviously it has to be sterile because the only thing you're interested in growing is your bacteria of interest. So we've already had bioreactor. I've had a look back at the SEC things, and they use the fact that it goes through all phases as far as they're concerned. In reality, commercially, they would probably clean it all out once you get to the stationary phase, because at that point you're not making any more of your product. But as far as the SEC are concerned, they want you to say batch process goes through all of the phases. And once you've gone through all of your phases, you clean out your product, separate it, and then you get ready to go again. But as you say, the SEC have decided all phases, so it's going to get down, the line is going to get down to here.
is that the graph we have to draw?
Yeah, this little graph. So it's essentially the same graph as we did yesterday, and just the points being that in the log and stationary phases when you make your most product, but as far as the SEC are concerned, you're going through all 5 stages. So most product in log and stationary. Okay. So just then at the end of production, your bioreactor is cleaned, your product is separated from the rest and purified if it needs it. The bioreactor will be cleaned and re-sterilized, and then you start again. Okay, we happy? Thank you so much. So for a batch culture, it may or may not have oxygen added. It obviously depends on the bacteria that's involved, and the mixture is usually, but not always, stirred. So if you've ever seen yogurt being made, initially they will leave it sit and it'll solidify into a curd, and then they'll start with their stirrer to break that up. And then that's the difference between set yogurt and kind of liquid yogurt. Okay. So then for our second process, it is called continuous flow. Does what it says on the tin. So the nutrients are fed into the bioreactor all of the time. So possibly we shouldn't use this word because you can't use the word that's in a question. So nutrients are fed into the bioreactor all of the time. Maybe a nicer way to say it. At the same time, they are withdrawing some of the culture medium, so they're going to be removing the microorganisms that are in there. They'll be removing the waste products. They're continually adding in food, and ideally they are maintained in the log phase of growth. And if you do it right, it'll just keep on going, and you can keep it in the log phase for weeks and months. Now the issue in reality is they have tough time keeping it sterile, so while they might like it to go for months, it doesn't always happen. So this would be your graph, but note that this is the log phase. So even though it's a flat line, so it kind of looks like stationary, you are just maintaining it in the log phase. Okay. And then just for continuous flow, they worry about temperature, pH, rate of stirring, nutrient concentration, oxygen concentration, waste products. They'll all be monitored to make sure that the growth will stay in your log phase. Okay, we're getting close to the end now. So just more, I suppose, an FYI for continuous flow, there is a real small number of applications currently. So they use it in single cell protein, it's called. So things like corn, but it's the sterility is the issue, and they use it in wastewater treatment. There's a biological step in wastewater treatment, and that is a continuous flow method. So obviously the poop is coming in all the time, or the wastewater, the dirty water, and the bacteria digest it in water treatment. So that will, sterility really here isn't hugely important because they'll kill whatever is dead later on, but it is a continuous flow process. And just the last thing then is side by side of our batch and continuous. So what do you think are the words that would come would be underneath the box? So for batch culture,
nutrients.
yay. Okay, so fixed amount of nutrients added at the start, nutrients go added all the time. So this is one word, and this is not going to be there when we get in there. So microorganisms go through something phases, microorganisms maintained in. What do we think? Any takers?
Log phase.
So which one is the log phase one? Batch.
Continuous flow.
Okay, and what would we put in then for batch?
Goes through all phases.
Yeah, it's going to go through all. So this is going to write differently, but we're going to squash it out. So they're going to go through all phases. Here it's going to be maintained in log. There is no decline or death. So over here it's log. This is all. What's the difference in your product formation in batch and continuous?
For short time.
Yeah, so yeah, short time, fixed time. And what about continuous then? Yeah, long time or all the time. And then just for the end, our process will have to be started again after cleaning, and in continuous it'll continue indefinitely.